So good evening, everybody. Uh,
Good evening.
yeah,
Good evening, Chief.
yeah, good evening. So this is a compulsory class because we have extended revised timetable. We have extended the time to so that we can complete early because there are practical session also. Anyway, regarding this, I have got your feedback regarding the new timetable. Once I finish the lecture, we'll discuss to that. Okay. So now this is we stopped here, and in this slide we have seen that the spiridial annealing what we do actually it's done for the high carbon content, so that once we do this kind of annealing, then the graphite or the cementite it separates, makes graphite, and it becomes spherical, and that gives us the machining facility, so that we can do at that temperature the machining. After that we cool it down, that is the heat treatment we do to get the required structure. That is the because our structure should be strong structure, but in that strong structure we cannot do this machining. That's why we do this type of annealing, and then we do the machining. After that we do the heat treatment, so that we can required structure we get that perlite, a cementite structure we get. Cementite means very strong, and perlite means we have seen that a layer of one ferrite, one cementite. So this is the combination we get, which is strong structure, and then it fulfill our desired uh, chemistry and the strength. So this is we done only for machining of hard steel. So now one of the drawing I had drawn in the morning, which is not there actually in your handouts, but I'll send it by email. That is, this is the drawing which I had drawn. So I'll share it with you all. So this is the diagram. It is actually, our heat treatment is based on this diagram. This is the eutectic temperature. We have seen some temperature we go above this, some we go below this. And this is the one, this line to nose line, what you see, that is the like the parlight. This, if you move down from this line, it will be gamma. That is the, we have seen this is the austenite, and austenite structure we know that is the very BCC structure, and we have this is the FCC structure. The solubility of the iron is high, so we want to make a strong structure. We want to keep it as it is. We don't want to convert into perlite, which means there will be some changes, but not major changes. Like the martensite is very strong structure, so we do it by quenching. Once we do it by the quenching, what will happen? Martensite will form. That is a vertical line. If we quench immediately, martensite will start here in this line, dotted line, and it will finish at this line, because it needs some time to uh, transformation. And if we move like this, suppose from here we so the temperature, this is the 723 degrees centigrade, and sometime we go above. Now suppose we go down, and then we keep it at this temperature uh, for some time, because your horizontal axis is T, time, and this is temperature. As I told you, this is called time temperature uh, transformation diagram, TTT. So what will happen if we keep it the temperature this way? This is the point when perlite will start transforming from austenite. And this is the point where perlite will be finished. It means all the austenite will convert into perlite. After that, there will not be any change of structure. So suppose we move down at this temperature, we keep it for some time. Then what will happen? In that case, the perlite will start transforming here and it will end here. If you move down, this is, which means you are sharply going down to this temperature and then you are keeping for some time. So here bainite will start, here the bainite will transformation will complete. It means this is the starting point, this line is the starting point, this line is the ending point. After that there will not be any structural change. So we can do the heat treatment. Suppose we want martensite, so we'll not go to this site. So we raise the temperature, suppose 30 to 40 degrees centigrade above the eutectoid temperature, and then we quench it by the water. And once we quench it, martensite will form, which is very hard structure. If you want ductility, then what will happen? We'll move this way, and then we'll cool it down. Usually what we do, we move like this. So depending on the what type of temperature cooling, rate of cooling, so this will be one type of rate of cooling. It means how much time it will take. So this will take longer time, this will take less time, this will take less time. Accordingly, it will pass through these two curves and it will form perlite or bainite. It will depend on. Suppose we start from here and we move like this. So it will be bainite. If it is this line, it will be perlite. And that is the way we can control the microstructure of the steel. Different microstructure we can have. Suppose we want some perlite, now not completely perlite. It means we can come here, up to here, we come up to here, then move down. It means some perlite will be formed, not completely. So after that, some bainite will be formed. So we can have a combination, different structure combination, different phase we can have, and we can have the different strength of the material as per our need. But in practice, this is very difficult to control. That's the reason we use the alloying element. We do the heat treatment, but not for all the element we make by the heat treatment. So because we cannot control precisely that, precisely we cannot control what we get the property if we add some alloying element. That's the reason we give the alloying, we go for alloying element. So this is the heat treatment, and we'll see that annealing part. Actually, like my question was in the after lunch, it was sorry, in the morning I had the class. So in the morning, my question was, how did you do it, the heat treatment? But it is not that I said that something is wrong. No, it is not wrong. So we'll see in the non-ferrous item, the copper part will discuss. It is there in your syllabus. So we'll see when we do the hardening, what you have understood, what is hardening, what is annealing or normalizing. So you have done something which some of you have done the hardening, some of you have done the normalizing, some of you have done the annealing. But in copper, it is there in the non-ferrous metal. That time we'll discuss that, what actually you have done and why you have done. So this is the heat treatment we do as per this curve. So we know depending on the structure, the property changes. We want hard like this. And this is at high temperature perlite. When it is formed, it is coarse perlite. It means, what does it mean? Coarse means this is one cementite, ferrite, cementite. Whereas if at this point the perlite is formed, then it will be fine perlite. It means this gap will be reduced. So this is the way, and this will be more ductile. Then it means this fine will be more ductile than this. So this is the way we can different structure and different property we can have. Now next is this one. Is there any question on this? Have you understood what I said? Because when you are doing that feed treatment, we are increasing the temperature, then at certain point, after that we are cooling. And rate of cooling, it means if you are cooling slowly, what will happen to the time? Time will increase. If it is quenching, immediately it will come here. For an example, if you quench from here, this is also quenching. It comes here. It means this much time you are giving. There will be some transformation. It will not be martensite. It will be in between something. So it will be less harder because you have given some time for the transformation. Transformation you are giving time means diffusion will take place. The uh, carbide will or the carbon will get diffused, and once it is diffused, it will become ductility will be high, higher than the hardness. Is it clear? Have you understood this diagram? I'll send you this diagram.
If I have one question,
Yeah, tell me.
this must will be have this only have quench with water,
Say again.
quenching with
You are coming broken. Can you repeat, or can you?
for, uh, for property. Is because the quench is very level. This you
You are coming broken. If you do one thing, you send me, text me in the chat. I'll open it and I'll answer to that. So Elma, send me a text because you are not clear. The voice was broken. So let him send the. Yeah, he has already sent. Let me see. You was there. Okay. So yeah, that is correct. If you want to have the martensite, that hard structure, you'll have to do the quenching, and by quenching only you will be having the uh, hardness will be high. It means when you are doing the quenching, what will happen? This is the austenite. The we solubility we keep same because almost same structure will be having, but there will be some difference. This is, we know, this is the FCC. The solubility of carbon is high, which makes the harder. Carbon makes the harder. So once we are doing the quenching, we are not giving much time. So what will happen? There will be needles like structure will be there, and there will be pearlite. There will be, this is gamma, and this is the pearlite, that is alpha, and there will be uh, cementite. Cementite means Fe, this is cemented Fe3C. So that will be, and this because of this needle like structure, because we are not giving time to diffuse. Otherwise, if you give time, then what will happen? It will become pearlite. But you are not giving, so it will become very hard structure. It means it will not be, the diffusion will not take place completely. So this you can achieve only by the quenching. The moment you give time, diffusion will start, and if you very slow, more slow, the fine structure will be having. So it is, you are right. You are right that by quenching only hardness we get. So Elma, you wanted to say something. Tell me.
Yes, Chief.
Yeah.
This eutectic temperature is only for steel.
This now what we are discussing. What I am explaining. It is a particular phase diagram, that is iron carbon phase diagram. It is for the steel. That's correct. What I have mentioned here. So that is this is for the steel. Eutected temperature.
But cast iron, chief,
Okay.
the cast iron don't have this the temperature.
Cast iron is also a steel. So now after this case hardening and all, I'll come to the iron carbon complete diagram. I'll explain to that. You will see it is the same diagram. Cast iron is also a steel. Only thing that carbon content is high. We'll see that it is same. Eutectic temperature also will be for the cast iron also, and it will be eutectic, eutectoid, both will be there. Here in this case, what we have seen, it is gamma. It is on this side. This is we have taken this eutectic temperature of the steel, whether it is cast iron or the steel, it will be 7. This is around 723 degree centigrade. Once I come to that diagram, it will be very clear to you that it is the same diagram. Just this one. If you see that, this is the eutected temperature. This is eutectic temperature. This side is the cast iron. Can you see this?
Yes.
This is the steel. It is the same iron carbon phase diagram. I'll come to this in details. Okay.
Okay.
And you has a question. So this martensite, you are talking about the property, when we quench it, it will become hard. The ductility will be less. Now, are you asking this that from where you quench? Suppose this is because austenite is from year to year. This is the austenite. We are from austenite, we increasing the temperature. Once this line crosses, this side, this point crosses, it will transform into austenite, which is a single phase. And this will be a more than one phase. Here it is pearlite and ferrite, two phase, pearlite and cementite, two phase. So now suppose you are quenching at this point, you will get a hardness. You are quenching here, you will get another hardness. But here, the hardness will be, your carbon content will be high at this point, it will be less at this point, depending on that, because finally it is the carbon also which is deciding that how much hardness will be there. The ductility will be less because we are not giving, it will not be changing into pearlite or ferrite or cementite. It will remain the almost same structure, which is the solubility is high. For the carbon solubility is high. I'll come to this diagram, then you will it will be very very clear to you. Understood? So if you move,
Yes.
yeah, you move this way, there will be there will be changes because of carbon content. Now there is case hardening. What is case hardening? It means we have a suppose component which is like we have a component here which is cross sectional area is this, and we don't want inside to be hard, only the outside to be hard. So what we do, the surface we make it harder. So this is called case hardening. Why we call it? Because it makes a casing. Inside will be tough, that is the ductility will be there. Outside on the surface we make the hardness. So there are different way we can do it. So what we do, we increase the temperature, surface temperature, but inside temperature we don't increase. So how we can do? Suppose we move a flame. For an example, we are moving a flame in this direction, and once the flame is moving, the temperature on the surface will increase to 250 degree to 850 degree centigrade. This temperature if you see, it is below the lower, that is the eutectoid temperature, because eutectoid temperature is around, means it is close to that. It is in solid form. It has not reached to the liquid form. Liquid will it will change to the liquid at the eutectic point, not the eutectoid point. Eutectoid point is your solid solution. So it will we have increased to this temperature, and at the same time it is moving in this direction. And once it's moving, and after that we are doing the quenching by water. We are having a water spray. Then what will happen? It has increased the temperature. Temperature has not reached to the inside because it will take some time to reach to the inside. On the surface, temperature has increased because after that heat has to transfer in this direction, then only inside will be heated up. So by the time it moves away from this direction, and then water spray is done after that. Then what will happen? It has reached to this temperature, and then it quenched it. So on the surface, it will become hard. So surface will be hardened. So it is called case hardening. So we are not allowing the inside temperature to increase. The inside temperature, if increase, they also will be changing the structure, which we don't want. We want only the outside temperature, so that it reaches to a higher temperature, and then we quench it. That is, once we quench it, that will become martensite on the surface. So the surface hardening is done, or the case hardening is done. So it is like what we have seen here is the quenching. It is the same thing. So we increase the temperature, immediately we are quenching, so that we are getting a hard material. But in that case, we only want to make hard on the surface, not inside. So this is one way case hardening is done. But there are now, what is the advantage of doing so? So this advantage is, it means the correct length of time the heat is applied. It means we don't have to we heat it up on the surface, move it away, and then the few seconds, the small, what will happen due to the few seconds, the oxidation will take place here. Once oxidation is taking place, then what will happen? It is a like the hot roll plate. It has got a oxidized layer, which is very hard, which protects actually. So because of this oxidation on the surface, oxidation will take place, but there will not be any structural change inside. So because of this oxidation deposits on the surface, it will become very hard. And then the interior, it is cool, so there will not be any distortion inside. So inside will remain same ductile. And this, for the mass production, this is very good. It means this process you can do the mass production. This is one way we can do the case hardening. So now another way we can do the flame hardening. It means, what is the flame hardening? So we use the flame when it is done for the carbon steel is having 0.3% to 0.5%. So this is medium. If you see the medium carbon steel, it will be, yeah, Melissa, tell me.
Chief, in the previous slide, I have one question.
This is the one? Yeah.
Yeah, on the previous slide, this B, it says heat maybe take only a few seconds, therefore small oxidation.
Yeah.
So this means it will minimize oxidation, this method.
Yeah, because we want only oxidation on the surface.
So what is the advantage of this? I mean, if there is oxidation, the surface will be more hard, yes?
Yeah, that's what we want.
But this method minimizes oxidation because it stays only a few seconds.
Yeah, because we want very small layer of the surface hardness. We don't want inside hardness. So only required speed will be adjusted accordingly, how much layer we want to give a hardness. So accordingly, because we want only the surface. So it will be small oxidation means on the surface it will retain and it will become hard. The surface will become hard.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
Yeah. So next is the uh, flame hardening. Also we can do. We increase the temperature. So this is done for the medium carbon alloy steel, which where the carbon content is 0.3 to 0.5, and it is also only the surface is heating. Heating is done, and then quickly by quenching jet we uh, cool it. So the surface hardening is done. Only on the surface we are using by the flame. It means we can use the laser also. On top, on the surface, laser moves, which produce heat. And then once it moves, because it's there is a rate of movement, so it will require temperature we get, and case hardening is done, and by it will not be dissipated inside. It means by the time it moves away, it gets dissipated. So the inside temperature will not be increased to for the transformation. So the only on the surface the hardness will be done. This is the same thing. We need to increase the temperature and quench it so that it can have a hard structure on the surface. So the advantage of this, no distortion, because it is very quickly is done, and surface hardening is high. We can achieve the higher surface hardening. And the core we don't want to change, that become tough, that is the ductilities remain. And then actually this tempering or the stress relief will has to be done after that. It means once you have done the surface hardening, after that tempering or the stress relief has to be done, because there will be stress generated, which has to, that is the heat treatment. We just increase the temperature and then we keep it for some time and then slowly we reduce, so that it remains same, but we relieve only the stress, because stress has to be relieved because of the surface hardening. There will be stress produced. It will be controlled way we do it, so that this surface hardening remains, but the stress will be relieved. And then that's why it is followed by a tempering or the stress relief after quenching, because after quenching there will be displaced structure that has to be controlled. Then the stress, it will be hard, but that stress also will be generated. That stress has to be relieved. So where like gear and all, we use this type of case hardening on the surface. Another is nitriding. Nitriding, yeah, Sophonius, tell me.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. So, whenever we make this hardening,
Yeah.
after that, we cannot make it soft by heat treatment.
We make it tempering. It is actually, we are giving some degree of ductility. When we make it by quenching, as I told you, martensite structure, when we make, we don't actually, we go a higher hardness. We don't control the hardness. We achieve the hardness, which is extra, more than that. After that, what we do the uh, tempering. That's why the quenching, always the hardening, then followed by the the tempering. It means if you see this, this is the temperature. We have moved down. Suppose we keep it for some time, we increase the temperature, we keep it for some time, then we quench it. After that, once we quench it, after that it has to be followed by tempering. This is the tempering. This is T and this is the temperature. Understood? When we are quenching, we are having a hardness which will be higher than the required, because we don't control that. After that, we know what is the hardness. Accordingly, we do the tempering. We increase the temperature, certain diffusion it takes place, but not completely. We will do the tempering in controlled way so that the required hardness remains. excess hardness will move out, because excess hardness we have seen that martensite, when you increase the temperature, it can be distorted easily. So we increase the temperature, certain martensite will transform, not all, and then we slowly we reduce the temperature. This is the tempering, and this is the quenching, hardening. Understood, Sophonias? Always it is
Okay.
done this way. So next is nitriding. Nitriding, like we have seen in the crankshaft, we do the nitriding, which is hard surface hardening. So crankshaft surface we harden. So in this case, what we do, we use the ammonia. So in nitride means the nitriding, what happens? Suppose we keep circulating ammonia in the component at elevated temperature at around 500 degrees centigrade, and 2-4 days we keep. So what will happen? The nitrogen, this ammonia will get partially dissociated, and the nitrogen will diffuse in the on the surface of the metal. Once it diffuses in the surface of the metal, then what will happen? It will become nitride. So that nitride is Fe4N, and that nitride will be on the surface, and it will be very hard material. The like crankshaft usually we do. There are different way you do. So one of the way we do the nitriding. So this surface, there it will be diffused nitrogen, and then it will form a Fe4N, which is very hard material, and it will be on the surface only. So this is called nitriding. This is nitride. So it is ammonia is kept at 500 degrees centigrade for 2-3 days, and sufficient. It will you will have to calculate. It means the designer that will calculate how much time it will keep and how much temperature it will keep. Usually this is the standard one, and then nitride will form on the surface, which is very hard material, and the surface hardening is done. Inside there is no, this core is ductile. Like as I told you, the crankshaft is surface hardening is done this way. So now for the plain carbon steel, which is not suitable for this, so nitriding is done for the 0.2 to 0.5% carbon. So what we do, like our crankshaft, it has got alloying material. It has got chromium, aluminum, molybdenum, because that property is we need to improve the property. That's why we use this alloying material, and the nitriding is done for. But plain carbon steel, suppose it is only the steel and the carbon, iron and carbon, that is not suitable for nitriding. That's the reason we alloying material we do the nitriding, because once we increase the temperature, this transformation takes place, and it will become different structure. In that we don't do the nitriding. Nitriding is done with the alloying material, and the core is very tough in that case, and the surface is very hard. So it is very wear resistance. That is the reason the crankshaft we do go for the nitriding. And this surface hardening, nitriding, has got advantages. That's why it is done widely. So distortion, quenching, cracks are avoided. We don't have to do any quenching. Because if you increase the temperature and moving, there can be a thermal stress, and there can be a distortion. When you are doing the quenching, it means suddenly you are reducing the temperature, there can be a crack develop, which nitriding does not have, because we maintain that same temperature, and slowly we increase to that temperature. And then it is hard surface very, and this is like this up to 500 degrees centigrade, this can give in service. It means this after the nitriding, if our metal is working at this temperature, still the hardness will be there, because as the temperature increases, your metal becomes soft. But in this process, at up to 500 degrees centigrade, we can still maintain the hardness. That is the advantage. Another is carburized case hardening. Now, at that, how it is done, this carburized, we have put here the ammonia and at elevated temperature. But suppose we put carbon monoxide or coke. So we put this metal inside the coke and at elevated temperature. Then what will happen? Carbon will diffuse into the surface, and carbon is hard, we know. It will become a carbide on the surface. But the problem is it will start softening at 200 degree, about 200 degrees centigrade, it will get softer, because we know that carbide get again, we can lose that carbide as higher temperature. So once carbide is changed to another transformation, then what will happen? The this hardness will reduce, and it happens at around to above 200 degrees centigrade. That's why the nitride is always better than the carburized, where the temperature, the at higher temperature, if your metal is working. And yeah, Teka, tell me.
Sir, on the previous slide.
Yeah. Tell me.
On the previous slide.
This
Here,
is
this one. Distortion and quenching cracks are avoided since heat treatment is carried out prior to nitriding.
yeah.
My question is that nitriding doesn't need any heat treatment. I mean, how the ammonia will be broken to nitrogen and then diffused to the surface of the metal if it's not heated up.
So it is elevated temperature. It is kept at 500 degree centigrade. So what will happen? We increase this temperature of the metal very slowly. We don't give thermal stress, and we increase to 500 degrees centigrade. After that, we start circulating the ammonia at this temperature, and we keep it for 2-3 days. So the temperature we have increased. That's why what it is saying, this, if you see this diagram, this distortion means there is no quenching effect. We keep it for that day, and then slowly we reduce the temperature, because it will diffuse only on the surface. It will not diffuse, and we are getting this for nitriding. It means it will Fe4N it produce, which is hard and on the surface. So after that, slowly we reduce the temperature, and inside it will be same structure we achieve. So, but this is already nitride is formed, it means it will be hard structure. So quenching is not required. We are not doing any quenching, and distortion will not be there, because we are slowly increasing up to 500. It will get dissociated because it is at elevated temperature. It is not the room temperature, and this ammonia is circulated. At 500 degree, it will get dissociated, nitrogen and hydrogen. Is it clear, Teka?
Okay, sir.
Because it will be at elevated temperature. It will then only it will get dissociated. So this where we have this this kind of the application. This also give the corrosion resistance, because it is nitride, as well as it gives fatigue resistance, because inside core is ductile. This application on this, like crankshaft, camshaft, spindle, where we go for this kind of pin link, which require the surface should be very, very hard. So there we use this kind of nitriding we do use. Now let us see this diagram. So we'll understand how this is the phase diagram of iron and carbon, and it is a particular diagram. Now let's so in this diagram, this is the eutectic temperature. We have seen the eutectic temperature, that hypothetical. Above eutectic temperature, it was above eutectic temperature, it was liquid, and here also it is liquid. At this point, it means this is the lowest point where solid become liquid. That is the melting point of this solid, and that is the lowest point. And this area, which is liquid plus gamma. What is gamma? We know, austenite. And this side, we have the liquid plus carbide, Fe3C. Now, why it is Fe3C? Because your carbon content is high. If you see this diagram, this is the temperature, but let us follow one temperature. This temperature, let us follow. This is the centigrade, and this is the carbon percentage. Carbon percentage is 0 here, and maximum is usually maximum is 6.67. This is okay, it is given here. This is 6.67. So now this is the eutectic temperature, where as per definition, the lowest temperature at which the two or more phases, when it is mixed together, it will get melted. Here, if you see below this point, it is austenite and carbide. This is gamma, which is austenite, and this is carbide. So this is two phase. Above this, it is liquid. And this side, it is transforming. It means it is changing the state. There will be gamma plus liquid. Some liquid will be there. If you see this side of this is the eutectic temperature. Left side of the eutectic temperature, because our carbon content is less, it will form austenite. Right side of the eutectic temperature, it will be liquid plus carbide, because our carbon content is high. Now let us see this side. It means at this line, this is the Fe3C, because maximum 6.67% will be the carbon. It will be maximum at this point. Now let us see this side. If you go to this side, there is a delta here. What is delta? Nothing but ferrite. So ferrite, delta iron, it's like a ferrite iron only. It is a pure iron which is stable at higher temperature. It means it will be stable at this temperature. If you see, this is at this temperature. So here there will be some delta plus liquid. Your austenite will be up to here in this portion. Austenite plus liquid. But once it moves towards this side, the carbon content will be very low. So delta will form. And this will be delta plus liquid, because delta also will form, but liquid will convert into change to solid, and this is solid form. So there will be a mixture of liquid and solid. And this side, what will happen? This area, what you see, this will be pure delta. This will be delta plus gamma. So some austenite will form in this area, but it will not exist in single phase. It will be existing with your delta iron. So it will be mixed with delta and gamma. Both will be solid. And this is also a two phase. Delta is one phase, gamma is another phase, because the microstructure and the arrangement are different. It means the this gamma will have more carbon, delta will have very, very less carbon. So, but now this portion we have seen, this has become delta, this is delta plus gamma, austenite and the delta iron, and this is delta plus liquid, and this is gamma plus liquid. That is the austenite plus liquid. Now, once you move this direction, it is solidifying because it is already solidified here. This part is solid, this part is solid. Now, if you move here, only the austenite exists. It is single phase. So once you come below this curve and this curve, you will have only austenite. And austenite structure we know. So that structure it will exist, and this will be our FCC structure. So we know that is this will be the FCC structure. So this will be FCC structure. Solubility of carbon is high. It means it will contain higher carbon. So after that, this is the eutectoid temperature. What is this temperature, eutectoid? What we are talking about? This gamma is single phase. This is the structure. The moment you move below this point, gamma does not exist. It will become pearlite or ferrite. At this point, it will be 100% pearlite. This side, it will be pearlite plus ferrite. This side, it will be pearlite plus cementite. We know the pearlite structure, the laminar structure, and the cementite. Cementite is this. So if we move, increase the temperature, this is having more than one phase. The moment this is the lowest temperature, if we move upward direction, the phase will change to single phase and it will become gamma. And when you move downward, at this point, it will change to two phase and gamma will not exist in normal condition. So, and this is called, this is solid, this is also solid, this is single phase, this is more than one phase. So this is called eutectoid temperature. And this is around 723 degree centigrade. Now let's see this side, how it behaves. Once this is gamma, it's moving down, then what will happen? This side, if you see, this side will be ferrite. This side, the percentage of carbon is 0.008%, very, very less. It will be like almost pure iron, which actually engineering application we cannot use because it is very, very soft material. So this is the ferrite and it is in single phase, this portion. Now, if we move towards this direction, for an example, suppose this point we take, gamma from here, it is coming, reducing the temperature, and it is around 0.8%, that is the pearlite. So what will happen once gamma temperature is increased, reduce the austenite temperature, and the carbon content is 0.8%, this will become pearlite. So what will happen here? The pearlite will form. That laminar structure will form. So this is completely, it will become this structure, that is the pearlite at this point if you reduce the temperature. But if we move this side, this is called, this is the eutectoid point, we call it hypoeutectoid. It means if you move this direction, what will happen? There will be ferrite plus pearlite. It means this gamma austenite will change to ferrite and transformation will start. It will be ferrite and pearlite. For an example, suppose this is the structure. Now to have the Fe3C, these are the dark line I have, blue line I have drawn, these are the Fe3C. From where Fe3C will come or become? The carbon, total carbon contained is same. So carbon will precipitate from this zone. This zone, carbon will precipitate and it will make Fe3C. What will happen to this zone? This zone will be, carbon content will be very, very less. It will become alpha. That is the ferrite. So it will have a laminar structure. It means this ferrite will form by precipitating the carbon, and Fe3C will form this, the blue lines what I have drawn. And in between the light line, this is the light color will form, that is the ferrite. Now suppose we moving this direction. It means as we move this direction, this the more Fe3C will form, and then it will, all the complete structure will become this laminar structure, and at this point it will be completely, it will be laminar structure. That is the pearlite. Now suppose we move this direction, what will happen? It means in this direction the carbon percentage is increasing. So what will happen? There will not be, at this point, the ferrite separately will not exist. It means all will be become pearlite. And after that, the ferrite will not have any ferrite. What will have? That is the pearlite plus cementite. So we have this structure plus the cementite, means there will be, suppose the carbon and the carbide will be on the grain boundary. For an example, there will be Fe3C. So Fe3C will increase as you move this direction, and your structure will become more harder. So this is the, up to this we have one structure. So we call it, because austenite ends here, solid austenite. It means after that here we have the austenite plus liquid it is mixing. Single phase will be only this. And if you move down, suppose austenite is here, we are moving down, what will be having? There will not be ferrite, it will be pearlite and cementite. It means pearlite will be mixed of cementite and the ferrite. But pure ferrite will not be having, pure ferrite will be having only this side, and as we move, ferrite will transform into pearlite and it will be completely pearlite. So now up to this, this is the hypoeutectoid, this is the beyond this eutectoid point, this is vertical line, we have the hypereutectoid. In hyper it will be pearlite and cementite, and hypo it will be pearlite and ferrite, and at eutectoid point it will be pearlite, 100% pearlite. So now let us see this side. In this side, you have the austenite and liquid. Now, this is the eutectoid point, eutectic point. At below eutectic point, it will become solid. There will not be liquid. And at this point, this is the minimum point where it will get melted and it will become liquid. Now, this side, what will happen? Will be having some austenite and then ladeburite and cementite. So this some austenite will change to the ladeburite structure. Ladeburite structure is nothing but a mixture. It means in a ladeburite structure will be having the pearlite and cementite. It means you have austenite. Ladeburite is actually the pearlite and plus cementite. So you will be having ladeburite, this is mix of pearlite and cementite, you will be having pure cementite, and you will be having austenite. So there will be three phase in this zone from here to here, and it will form from this, because this is gamma plus a liquid which will cool down and it will become solid, and there will be a three-phase solid solution. And up to this is the eutectoid temperature, that's 723 degrees centigrade, and eutectic temperature is 1130 degrees centigrade. And after that, let us see this side first. This side we have the liquid and carbide. Once it cools down, then what will happen? It will become primary is cementite. So here the primary is austenite. Here the primary is cementite, because Fe3 is the carbon content is very high percentage, and plus some leadiborite. What is leadiborite? Nothing but this perlite and cementite. So this side, if you see, there is no austenite does not exist this side. So it will be leadiborite, that is perlite and cementite, and cementite, pure cementite. This will be very, very hard material. Now let us move down below the eutectoid temperature. Here, this side, we have the, it will transform into cementite, perlite, and transform leadiborite. It means some of the, it means here the austenite will not exist. There is no austenite here. So austenite will transform into the cementite, perlite. Cementite was there, and perlite it will transform into, and then there will be transform leadiborite. Leadiborite is the mixture of the perlite and cementite. So there we can see that transformation means some of the austenite has transformed into leadiborite. Yeah, tell me.
Sir, I have one question here.
Tell me.
When we see the diagram, is
Yeah.
Mostly it's I can see two drawings. One is for the steel side, and then the other one is for the cast iron. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the cast iron, the lower temperature for the starts solidification or starting to be liquid is at 1130. Yeah. 1130.
Yeah.
And then when we see the diagram,
Yeah.
then above that, that is in the austenite is in the liquid form. But below that diagram, I can see also there is one austenite in liquid form. Can you if you are following me, can you show me? Yeah, that one.
Are you talking about this?
Yeah, this area is it for the steel part or is for the cast iron part? I mean, if for the cast iron part, this portion should have to be in solid form. Yeah, the austenite should be in solid form.
This we have divided into two sides, that is cast iron and the steel. Why? Because of the application. So this is carbon content is high. We are using, we call it cast iron. We use for the casting. This side.
Yes.
And this side we use for the steel. Now this side, what you are talking about, this one, isn't it? This area.
Yes. Yes.
This is the liquid above this line, and below this line, what will happen? The liquid will start solidifying. So what it will form in this area? It will form austenite, but plus liquid. It means it will there will be some liquid here. Understood? So because it is transition from liquid to solid. Here it is liquid, here it is solid. For an example, think this way. So in between it is austenite plus liquid. Now this area comes under this side also, this side also. Suppose we draw a line this.
Yeah.
So if once this area it is coming, then your carbon content is high. Understood?
Yes.
And this side carbon content is low. So then as we know that the application for steel will have to restrict the carbon content, otherwise it will become very brittle. Then we go for casting that metal. So this liquid and the austenite, some also solid means liquid will transform, will solidify, and it will become austenite up to here when it is mixture. So up to here, this area, it will be austenite plus liquid. And then
solid or
this
this the
austenite
vertical?
is solid. This is solid. It means it is means changing the state from liquid to this.
Yeah.
So if you see this up to this is liquid, this is liquid flow plus some of the liquid it has solidified, which is austenite. But once the 100% single phase austenite is up to here. This side, when it is here, it is austenite and liquid. But when it's solidifying, because that liquid will contain the carbon percent, because carbon percent is high, and dissolve means the solubility of this austenite, the carbon will be high. So what will happen? It will not become pearlite or ferrite or pearlite and cementite. It will become austenite. It will remain austenite, and some of the austenite will change to laterite, and some will be cementite. So this three phase will exist here. This understood. This is the solid and liquid mixture. The gamma is solid form, and liquid is liquid form. It is containing your iron and carbon both. And gamma also will have iron and carbon, because it will means there will be carbon atom also in gamma. We have seen that FCC, the solubility of carbon will be high, so it will have a large number of atom which is carbon also. Is it clear what your question, Teka?
Yes, sir. That I was before understanding that as you draw here on the joint point, that the vertical line.
Yeah.
You draw the vertical line.
Yeah.
So from the vertical line to the cast iron side.
Yeah.
From the line from the graph.
Yeah.
If it is below, it should have to be solid. It should have to be solid, because above that is liquid. But from the vertical line, if we pass to the steel side, from the vertical line, if we pass to the steel side, it is not it's not any more cast iron. So if it is not any more cast iron, we are already in the steel side. So for the steel side, the drawing should have to be the down diagram, not the upper one. So the down diagram, from the down diagram, above of the down diagram, all should have to be liquid. Yeah.
Here everything
no,
is
down.
liquid. Down here.
No, the down one.
Here.
This down point. For the steel, the lower point is, I think, 723. Yeah.
720. This one you are talking about.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yours
so I mean.
Yeah. Tell me.
So I mean, I see that you draw a vertical line between the joint line for the steel and the cast iron.
Okay, here.
For the steel and the cast iron, yeah.
Okay.
This vertical line, you extend it until the upper part.
Yeah.
So if we extend it until the upper part, extend more up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we extend more, if I see from this line to the cast iron side.
Yeah.
To the cast iron side, below the diagram should have to be solid, below the line diagram. But if I pass, this one,
from here, this point below this, you mean to say it will be solid?
Solid, yeah. But from this line to the steel side, it's already, we are already entering to the steel portion. So it will be liquid. The austenite will be liquid, yeah.
Here,
so my question was,
here
is solid.
Gamma, no, solid plus liquid both. It is the same mixture, solid up to here.
So
Only
mixture.
this side the carbon content will be high. This side carbon
Mhm.
content will be up to 2%. Is it clear? Have you understood this? The enclosed area of this is liquid plus austenite. Above this is liquid. Already
Yeah, but you see
liquid has,
the written word is it is saying the austenite in liquid.
yeah. This you are talking about this, isn't it? So, but
It only
yeah, the it will be liquid plus solid. Both it will be
okay.
transition. The state will change. This gamma will be solid plus liquid. This liquid will be in austenite liquid.
No, okay. Okay, sir.
So, and this side the gamma will not exist. It will be liquid plus carbide. And then this side, if you see, after that it become the uh, completely solid, but that solid will be cementite will be measured. This is the cementite. And then a ladyborite. Ladyborite is a transformation from the austenite, or the this liquid also will be become the transformation to ladyborite. Ladyborite is nothing but a perlite and the mixture of perlite and the cementite. That is called ladyborite. And now if you move down, you see all this area, it will be having like this will be having the cementite, perlite and transform ladyborite. It means here there was austenite, some austenite will convert into the perlite and some will convert into ladyborite. That perlite plus cementite, that is the ladyborite. And that is, this is the way, and at this point it will be carbide. We don't go beyond this. Up to this is our scope of study, because beyond that we don't use it. So is it clear, everybody? And this side is the cast iron and this side is the our steel. And another thing, actually similarly we can divide. This is also pro means hypo-eutectic and this is hyper-eutectic. Like we have divided here, hypo-eutectoid and hyper-eutectoid. These two also we can divide is the same way. So is it clear, everybody? Have you understood this iron carbon diagram? This is our complete, because the iron carbon phase diagram gives us all the details. So where we should be. And as we move this way, the ductility is lost because our carbon percentage is high. It will become harder structure. So like the cast iron, it's the hard, very hard, and it has got very good compressive strength, but the tensile strength is less. Whereas this will be, the tensile strength will be high. So this we use for steel, and this is for carbon, means the casting. For we use the cast iron this side. And this side, actually there are many advantages. We have different type of cast iron. That white cast iron we have, then spiridual cast iron. We'll see it is there. There are some diagram. We'll understand how it. I mean the property changes. Like we use the cast iron for the cylinder liner. So why we use that lubricity? That gives us the flex on the grain boundary. This grain boundary, the carbide, and this graphite precipitates from the carbide, and that gives us the lubricity. So it gives us the lubrication, self-lubricating property it has got. So is it clear, everybody, in this diagram, or any questions? And this one, that ferromagnetic, it means above this is the paramagnetic, below this is the ferromagnetic. It means above this we don't have the magnetic, it will be paramagnetic. Below, once this behaves like that, and below this line you will find the it change to magnetic property. So all of you, is it clear or not, this diagram? And actually, I explain you the hypothetical one, that is the eutectic point. This was the point that when I started. But this is also eutectic, but it has got another point which is solid solution, changes the phase into more than one phase. That is called eutectoid point, which is 723 degrees centigrade. Clear? Understood? Yeah, Teka, you raise your hand. Tell me. Teka, any question? You raise your hand.
Sir, sorry,
Yeah.
it's a previous one.
Okay. So if there is no question, then let us go to the next slide. So the next slide is our the different type of steel. One is plain carbon steel, so which has got actually the carbon and the steel. There is no any other alloying material. So the steel, we add the carbon. Once it added the carbon, then only it becomes stronger, and then we use. But special type of steel we have seen in the manufacturing process, we add the alloying material. So this steel, the property, it's gives you the corrosion resistance, and to have the corrosion resistance and the other property to change, new property, we use the alloying element. So what are the alloying element we do use? One is nickel. Nickel we use. Why we use? It gives us the strength. It means it becomes stronger. That's why 1 to 8% nickel we do use. But when it become the strong, that time definitely the ductility will be lost. Little ductility, but not very highly it is lost, but little it is lost. That's the reason we use the alloying material. And it also gives us the erosion resistance. It means where like the exhaust valve, one of the alloying material we do use, because there is it has to be erosion resistance. So it depends upon the application we use. Another one is this nickel. When you add the grain refinery, what is grain refining? It means the grain comes to your mind, that microstructure, it become like exact location it comes. It means the fineness of the grain takes place. It means suppose this is the grain, this is the, suppose like the austenite I have drawn like this. This grain is very fine grain I have drawn. So it will be very fine. This grain fineness is done by this nickel if you add. So the stress will be less, and it will also make the heat resistant steel. It means the at higher temperature, elevated temperature, it can work. So these are the advantage. That is the properties changes. That is the reason nickel is one of the alloying element. Now the next one is the manganese. Manganese also another alloying material. What it does actually, once you add manganese, machinability of the steel is improved. It means you will be able to easily machine it. It will become a little softer actually, so that you can give a cut or machining can be done. But it also increases the strength. This manganese alloy, when we add, and hardness also increase. At the same time, the machinability also is improved. So, and another advantage is ill effect of oxygen and sulfur. It reduces. What is that? If you have the oxygen, it will become oxides. That actually sometime it helps, sometimes it gives us the adverse effect. So this ill effect of oxygen, which is adverse effect, can be reduced, as well as the sulfur. Sulfur, when you have the sulfur, sulfur comes from the iron ore. When you extract from the earth, it comes out, it will be there. And sulfur, we actually, by oxidation, we remove the sulfur. These are the one of the impurities. So this sulfur, if it is there, then what will happen? The strength of the material is reduced. So this manganese, when you add, then the strength is reduced, because these all ill effect it eliminate, it reduce. So the ultimate strength is increased. Silicon is another alloying material we do use, 1%. So once you add silicon, then the oxygen, that's oxidation reduces also, and sulfur also, that the strength is lost because of the sulfur, that also it's increased if you add the silicon. Another thing, this silicon help us the casting. Casting, what you are doing, you are melting the metal and then you are pouring. The fluidity is important for casting, because it has to flow to all the cavities you have made in the mold, which has to be filled up with the solid solution, and then it gets solidified. So if the fluidity is not there, then what will happen? It will not reach to all the cavities what you have made to fill up the, to make the casting, to give a shape. So this silicon helps us. That's why in cast iron we add silicon slight percentage, so that the fluidity increase, because we'll be doing the casting due to the with the cast iron. And also it heat resistant steel, we use 0.1%, up to 1%, and for casting, for fluidity purpose, up to 0.3% we add. So heat resistant resisting steel also, it gives us the fluidity, and it resists the heat. Chromium is another widely we do use a small amount in the which gives us the, like stainless steel has got chromium percentage, and it is 0.25 to 18, and it is heat resistant steel. It means at high temperature when the steel is working, so it gives us the heat resistance and corrosion resistance, erosion. It has got a lot of property. It improves the steel if we use the chromium. The strength also increases, but once the strength is increases, there will be ductility is lost little, and the brittleness it will create, which actually it's not good for. Brittleness means it can break. That is the problem. And the grain, because the grain size increases, once the grain size increases, then the brittleness it's become it become hard. That is the reason it is has this adverse effect, some negative effect. The tool steel, ball rails, those has to be very, very strong, that we use chromium. And corrosion resistance has to be erosion resistance. That is the reason we use the chromium. Like for our crankshaft, we use chromium. Exhaust valve also we use chromium. Then molybdenum. This is another alloying material, because different chapter we have seen, you can correlate why we use this. This molybdenum we use for the exhaust valve, for an example. So because it is working at very high temperature, so creep resistance it gives, strength also increase, heat resistance also give. So for an example, this alloy also you do use for the superheater, because where the temperature will be very, very high, because superheat means after saturation 100% saturated steam, then we increase the temperature. So that temperature is high at your superheater tubes is exposed to that temperature constantly. So there will be a creep. So we use this molybdenum steel. Our molybdenum is used as an alloying material. Turbine blades. It means turbine blades will be at elevated temperature, because suppose superheated steam is hitting the turbine rotor blades. So that has to be that temperature. It is working at that high temperature. Or our turbocharger is for an example, our turbocharger in the main engine, suppose that is working at very high temperature constantly. So it will be having molybdenum as an alloying uh, element, so that it gives us the creep resistance. Vanadium, we know it is an impurity, but it is also used as an alloying element. What is the advantage of it? This is 0.2 to 4% we do use. Once we use this, as we know, the vanadium is a very hard material. It makes a very hard deposit. We use this element. Once we use this element, then what will happen? The hardness at high temperature improves, because this melting point of vanadium is very high. So we use this vanadium to increase the hardness, to retain the hardness at high temperature. So it increases the strength also, and fatigue resistance also it gives. So where actually we do use, this is like boiler tube material, we do use the vanadium as a alloying material element with the, it means instead of molybdenum, with the molybdenum we can reduce this little molybdenum and we use this vanadium. So the tube will be hard, remain hard as a high temperature. Hard means it remains strong. Tungsten, there is another, but we use up to 1.5%. Where we use usually, it is die steel, where it has to be very strong. We know tungsten is very strong material. Molecular weight is high. So at a high temperature, it will remain strong. That is the reason we use the tungsten. And this also, it is because it is a hard material, self-hardening is done. This is, and forms very hard carbide, because this will be, it means tungsten will combined with carbon, it will make a hard carbide. Whereas Fe also can make with carbide, we have seen it is hard, but this will be much harder than the carbide which is made of Fe. Now, process. Yeah, Melissa, tell me. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chief. I have a question on this chromium.
Yeah.
Most of the generators, which is four-stroke engines,
Yeah.
The exhaust valve is chromium plated.
Yeah, that's correct.
But here the molybdenum is more suitable for this application, as written here, with high temperature.
Yeah.
So how they choose this chromium? It's cost-wise or as a reason?
Yeah, one is the cost wise, but it will be mixed with chromium and molybdenum both, but molybdenum is more expensive. That's why we go for the chromium. If you see this is also giving you heat resistance as well as hardness, which is wear resistance. Then it is giving you the erosion, corrosion, all strength it is improving. And that is good enough. That can, in that working condition, chromium is okay. So we go for chromium. So all the environment in which the exhaust valve will work, if you see all this here. And another advantage is chromium is it does not allow to make any deposit, the smoothness. Like our piston groove also is chromium plated. So this also have all this property, if you see, but it is cheaper than the molybdenum. And as long as it's working without any failure, it's okay. So So the design is, then there is no problem with the material design. So it will be chromium. Chromium is widely used. That's the reason.
Okay, thank you. I understand.
And where actually you see molybdenum also you do use, isn't it? So where actually where this also will be there, and in addition to that molybdenum we use where there will be only chromium will not be able to help us. So there molybdenum we add. Yeah, Sophonius, tell me.
Okay, thank you, Chef. Why do we need this hardness on the boiler tubes? I cannot figure out where these forces are coming on the tubes and why we need it.
Yeah. So hardness means it should not deform. Understood? If hardness is not there, then it can deform. At high temperature, what happens? Your metal becomes softer. And because of that, it can fail. So if it is hardness is retained at that, means suppose you increase the temperature, your metal will become softer slowly. At this point, it will be more harder than this point. Now at high temperature, because boiler tube is exposed to high temperature, at this temperature, this hardness should retain. Understood? Otherwise, this metal can fail at this high temperature. So hard retain, that's the reason vanadium is used, so that this hardness will retain. So it will not become softer at this high temperature because it is working at high, like superheater, it will be at higher temperature, or you have the economizer, it will be also higher more than 200 degrees centigrade it will be. So this hardness means which is giving the resistance, so it will not deform. Otherwise, it will fail. It becomes softer. So that is the reason the hardness should retain. It is, what is it telling? You have a certain percentage of hardness, it will retain at higher temperature so that it does not fail.
Okay, Chef. I was thinking this hardness is due to some impact force. That's why I was.
No.
Okay.
Because your there will be velocity. With velocity, it hits. One of the reason that's why there should not this deposits does not make because of the kinetic energy. But that will not be very high. Our problem is the temperature. At high temperature, it's because of the softness it can fail. So now there is the shaping of the steel. How do we give the shaping? Means one of the shaping is the we give the shape by casting. And casting we have seen. The one is the problem is the section should not be less than 50 mm. We have seen during the transverse girder of the main engine bed plate. So because this mold section cavities is made minimum 50 mm. Otherwise, when you pour it, it will not, there will be the cavities inside. It will not be filled up completely and it will not be strong, the structure. That is, by the casting, we give the shape also. And then where it means what we do, we have seen the casting in the manufacturing process of the steel, one of the casting, what we did, but there we have made ingot. That is not the means the final shape we had given. But after the ingot, if we want to make suppose transverse girder, then we'll have to make a mold. Inside there will be cavities, and then ingot we give the reheat and we melt it, and then we pour it, and then we can make that casting. That is this one. But without that also we can give the ingot, we made it red hot and then roll into the shape. We have seen the rolling mill that they do, and then they give the different shape from the ingot. In this case we don't melt it. What we do, we reheat to the red hot, and then we pass it through the, if it is a hot rolling, it will be passing through the roller at a higher temperature. If it is cold rolling, also the temperature will increase, but it will not be high temperature, it will be low temperature, and then force will be required high. So that also we can give the shape. And this casting giving the shape is economical because you can give complex structure, internal cavities, passage, everything you can make by the casting. So that become economical. Now one is hot working. What is hot working? Hot working is the uh, above the lower critical temperature. We have seen the lower critical temperature, that is the eutectoid temperature. When you move above that, then what will happen? We can give a plastic deformation and it become red hot. Like just now I told that the ingot you make it red hot because the hot rolling, and then you give the shape. So then in that case, you'll have to increase the temperature to above the lower critical temperature, and your force requirement also will be less. And this high temperature, when you give the hot work, the advantage is there is a something called a mill scale. What is the mill scale? Actually, it helps us to protect the material. So at high temperature on the surface, oxidation takes place. And once the oxidation takes place, that makes a coating on the steel plate, for an example, that is called mill scale. And mill scale protect us. It comes from the rolling mill. Once that's why HRC, if you see the HRC, that is the hot rolling coil. Be careful that protection should not go damage. Like many times ship carry this HRC and cold roll coil, CRC. So if it is hot roll coil, then this mill scale will be there. Whereas if it is CRC, this mill scale will not be there. And once this mill scale is broken for some reason, it can be broken because of the water, seawater has gone inside, and then the receiver will not take that because cargo is damaged. So mill scale is protecting the plate because it forms at high temperature oxidation, and it gives you a coating on the surface. And hot work, the hot rolling, we get this mill scale, which is a good protection for our. It gives a layer so that the outside moisture is not contact with the metal. Hot rolling, we have seen that the squeezing by roller, we have actually there was one diagram I explained to you. So through the roller, it squeezes the metal and gives the different thickness of the plate. And temperature at about 1200 degrees centigrade, we do it so that power consumption is less. As the temperature increases, your material becomes softer and the power consumption will be less. But once you increase the temperature, your roller has to be compatible with hydraulic press is there because it is forcing both inward direction. So that hydraulic system has to work in this temperature. So there are associated equipment has to be compatible with this temperature, but the power consumption will be less. Cold rolling, it is below the LCT. It means it will be increase the temperature. It will not be without temperature. It will be very difficult to roll it. So we increase the temperature, but we don't go beyond LCT. That is the lower critical temperature, and then we do the same process, the rolling. By rolling, we give the different shape. So accurate size and thickness we can get, and this is another process, that is the CRC what I was talking about. It is the same, that is cold rolling coil. Then the drop forging, that forging is the advantage we do like the crankshaft. This is the drop forging we do. And how it is made, actually it improves the mechanical property. Why? Because it is you are hitting the bar. Suppose it is like slab, you hit it and then we drop the hydraulic piston, it drops, hits and gives us a shape, and that gives you the it is we are applying the compressive force, so the density is increased, the metal strength is increased, and it will also give us the uniformity of the grain structure. And any complex structure we can do by drop forging. It means hammering by. So once we hammer, that become more stronger because the density is increased. And crankshaft we do by the drop forging, conrod, then the turbine blades we do by the drop forging. In drop forging, what you do, I think one of the diagram I had drawn before, let me draw. For an example, we want to make something like this. It is a rod and we want to give a shape of hexagon. So what will you do? We have this. So this one we have bottom, we'll rest it on the bottom, and then we have the piston or the hammer, we call it hammer. This hammer is operated by the hydraulically. It will hit this round bar. Then what will happen? Once it hits, it will become like this shape. Top will become flat, this will become round, and this will become round. Both this side. It means this side will be the top side will get flattened and this side will get flattened. Then you turn it. So again hit it. So slowly you can achieve a hexagonal shape, because as it is hitting, you are turning it. So you will get a hexagonal shape. So you are giving this by a dropping the weight. So this will become very strong structure. And crankshaft also made like this. It's hydraulically. It's slab. You take the red hot slab and then you hit it, and it knows, it is programmed. It is done by the electronic, it means a computerized program. So it will keep on moving and where to hit this and how much degree to keep. So it will form a crankshaft. And crankshaft is, we have seen that forging, it is one of the way is crankshaft, that one of the diagram we have seen, that is the forging, which is pushing this way, and by dropping also we can make. That one what we have seen, it is the pressure, we are applying the pressure, but by dropping also we can make. That will become very strong structure. Then the class of steel. So class of steel, we have the low carbon steel or the mild steel. We have seen that the carbon percentage is very low. Mild steel is 0.15 to 0.25, and medium carbon is 0.2 to 0.5, and high carbon steel is 0.5 to 1.4. This is the range of steel. We have different class of steel depending on the carbon percentage, and we divide into the different steel. Now, one thing is the fatigue failure. How do you know that the fatigue failure has happened? If you see the crack, you must analyze the crack. When there is a failure of a material, there will be a crack. And that crack, how it had happened, how does it look like? So in this case, this is a fatigue crack. In the fatigue crack, if you see, actually fatigue failure happens without giving any notice. Yeah, Melissa, tell me.
Okay, thank you, Chief. What is this high-speed steel? Usually it's indented on the tools.
Yeah. So in
high-speed steel, what is this?
In the tool, that is the carbon percentage is very high. That is the high carbon. This is the tool we use where the carbon is high, very high. And high speed means the tool, for an example, let's cutting tool. So it will be working at higher speed. At what speed it will be working? That is high speed. This means it should not get damaged at that speed also. it become hard. That is based on this carbon percentage. But the high speed tool means it is working. Suppose the tool is moving and shaft is rotating and you are doing a cut machining. So it will give also that it will work at high speed. It means at high speed it will not get worn out or the damage. The material will cut, which the tool will not get damaged. There will be some. It will be very, very less compared to the metal which you are giving the cut. So that's why it is called uh, high speed steel, which is used for that tool. For making a tool, we use that, and it will be high carbon also, high carbon steel, because it has to be very, very hard. It's carbide basically. So, in details, if you want to know, I can go into details. That next class, probably I'll finish this. That time I'll go into little details if you want to know in a little details. Okay, Melase.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Now, the material failure, if you see, there are one of the failure, it happens because of the uh, or fatigue failure. Fatigue is a high concern to us because it fails without any notice. It will not give us the notice. It generates and it is suddenly it fails. And it will not, we have seen the tensile test, it forms the neck and then it fails, but fatigue will not have this. Suppose for an example, we have the one test piece and uh, we have given a tensile force. It will break at one point, but instead of that, we have this space and we give a cyclic force. Sometimes we put force here and this is fixed, so it will have a bend like this, and another moment we give a pressure from here and we give support here, so it will be cyclic. It means this will become change the position, it will become this is tensile, this is compression. In previous case, this was under compression and top was under tensile. It means for an example, what will happen if you see this way? So there is a shaft for an example, which is subject to the cyclic loading. In that case, what will happen? This is the shaft which is having a cyclic loading. Once it is a cyclic loading, it means it is having it will have a bend. It means sometime it will be under compression. Once it is under compression, what will happen? This will move this direction, and this will be tensile. Once it is in tensile, what will happen? This will move, try to move this direction. So this will be the force acting on it. And after that, it will come to original position. After that, this will become the tensile. What will happen? This will move in this direction, force, and it will be like this. So it will keep on changing the position because of this force, and suddenly it will develop a crack, small crack, and suddenly it will fail, and it will fail like this. There will not be any neck formation. If it is a tensile force failure, then what will happen? As I told you, that cup and cone, and this will be the cup and cone, and there will be a neck formation here, and this formation there, this will be 45 degree, by which, seeing that, you know it has failed for tensile force. So by looking at the crack, you know what is the reason for it. If it is fatigue failure. It will be a straight tool. But if you see this face will be, there will be lines. It means if you see, this is the surface where it has failed. It has developed initially like this. There will be number of rings curve, and then this will be initially when it is developed, curve will be very close. After that, when it is failed finally completely, here also it will be lines. So by end it will be a flat. There is no neck formation on the, so you know it is because of the fatigue failure. So this, once it is subjected to the cyclic loading, then this type of failure happens. So what will happen at this point when it's come back to original position, because once it was compression, it changed to your the tensile force, then it has to come to a point which is initially it was. So the stress is relieved. Again, stress is generated. So there will be a change of stress like this. Now, if you see this diagram, have you seen these lines? So there will be a number of lines like this. So that this, it is actually this line it is talking about. On the face, you'll see this kind of, and there will not be any neck formation. You'll see the uniform, this dimension will remain uniform. If it is tensile failure, this will be the indication. So that will give us the fatigue failure. So if let us see this smooth zone, because there is the crystal, what happened actually when it is having this kind of stress, it is the compression and the tensile, it is cyclic stress, then what will happen? The grain boundary, there will be the rubbing action, and then the crack will generate. And the, it means it is brittle material will fail faster, because the brittle, there is no toughness. It means there is no elasticity is less, so it will become faster failure on the this type of cyclic loading. And the crystal, when that grain means the gradually it will once the crack is developed, it will gradually it is propagate, and the, because of the rubbing action between between the grain boundary, there will be a rubbing action. Suppose this is one grain, this is another grain. So this grain boundary, there will be a rubbing action, and on the surface it will crack, on the inside also it can crack. Usually it is this is the from the surface it will start, and then suddenly it will fail. It will suddenly increase. So this does not give us any notice. So once what is happening, once the crack is developed, then what will happen? That area, that metal strength has reduced, because load carrying capacity will reduce, and finally it will fail. So the fatigue crack start some point, and where it will start, where the stress concentration is high. It means suppose you have done the heat treatment for relieving the stress, but some residual stress is there, then the crack will develop there. So wherever the stress concentration, or there is a like suppose there is a keyway, the stress concentration will be high. So there will be a fatigue failure. Suppose that shaft is having a bend, it will have a cyclic loading, though it is rotating. So it will fail at that point. Wherever there is a stress concentration, the crack will develop there, and it will suddenly it will fail. So this curve line, as I told you, these are the lines, number of lines you will see, and you know that this is the fatigue failure. You can judge by yourself if there is a this kind of failure. If you see on ship, you can judge it is a fatigue failure. It means suppose shaft is failed, shaft is not actually, trueness was not there, so it might fail. Or bearing, one bearing, because of the bearing it dropped, then also sometimes suppose a shaft is rotating with heavy mass. So what will happen? Because of this heavy mass, shaft will have a bend. So it can fail here. So of course our flywheel, we have the supported here. So this bending moment is less because it is supported here. And it is designed such a way so that this bending moment, this material should be, whatever will be the bending moment, it will be able to withstand that. Now the creep. Creep is, we have seen the creep before. Let us quickly complete this. So what is that? Creep is elevated temperature at some force is acting, and then the material is working at elevated temperature. Then there will be plastic deformation, and it will be very slow. Slowly it will, and finally it will fail. So the plastic strain, it has got three parts. We have what we have seen. It is the before it's same. So 0 to P, that is the primary, then secondary, and tertiary. So tertiary will be failure, primary will be, it will increase the stress and strain relation. If you see, the curve will be sharply, it will increase, but it will decrease in secondary phase, P to S. So why it will be? Because that time the plastic deformation will take place, so that actually that displaced structure will become refined because of the high temperature. So your strength will increase, and then the slope will reduce, stress and strain curve, if you see. So let us see this diagram, since we have finished this before. So this is the same diagram. So this is E primary, this is secondary, this is tertiary. So this is the way. In this it will fail. This is, we have seen in the morning that this is the, it means your time is more, same time, the this is more creep, and here at the same time creep is less, because this will be this much creep and this will be this much. So from here to here it will reduce because of the refining of the molecular structure because of the high temperature. So let us see this, what is it written? It is same thing is written, what I told. The primary is like the rapid, it is rapid changing because the it is the elongation will be changed rapidly. After that it is reduced, then it will become uniform. Because if you see this, the secondary, it is like a straight line. Here it is a curve. So it will become uniform. And then the third one, it will sharply again increase rapidly, and it will fail. Neck formation will take place. Once neck formation takes place, means it will fail. You cannot save the material. So the secondary creep, the plastic deformation takes place, primary and secondary. And the sleep associated, it means the dislocation of the grain structure, it becomes refined. That's the reason secondary, it gives us a resistance more. So work hardening is done during the secondary, and that is done at high temperature. So that is the reason it become uniform and it become more stronger. So then after that, when it is going to the tertiary, and then it fails, the neck formation takes place. Tertiary, okay, finally it is micro crack will initiate, and then it will fail. What are the actually the influence? Creep increases because of the temperature. As the temperature increases, creep also will increase. And better creep resistance, if the coarse grain material, it gives us the better resistance than the fine grain. We have seen that that heat treatment, the diagram I had shown you, I mentioned one thing, that at higher temperature it become perlite, but that become coarse perlite. It means if the structure is coarse, it will give you the creep resistance will be better. If the fine grain, then it will be less resistance. And creep value, it is very, very little. If you see the percentage of elongation with the time, so if it is, suppose for an example, the creep is 0.001 in 100,000 hours. In that case, we write it this way. This is 5 plus 3, 10 to the power minus 8 hours. And it should, like the creep, we should take in consideration when the temperature is more than and greater than 500 degrees centigrade. We must consider the creep because it can fail anytime. So this is the way it the creep is how the creep failure happens, and it is at elevated temperature continuously at that temperature when the material is working, then it happens. So any question till now? Next class it will be we'll be able to complete. We'll see, but I think we'll be able to complete next class. So now tell me any question first. Let me finish this, then we can discuss about the other thing. So any question? Tell me. Have you understood what I have taught you?
Yes, Jeff.
So if then what we do actually, but this copper one now, what I was talking about, that it's there in your syllabus. I'll come to that. You will understand that what you have done on ship. I'll explain in details in that portion when I cover next class. It will be covered most likely. That time I'll explain to you. So now let us discuss about what you have now regarding this assignment date. If you want to request something, you request to me, okay, like and mention that which one you want to extend, because now since we are completing the chapter and then giving you the assignment, so there is no fixed date actually. It will, each assignment will have a different date for the chapter wise. So this, if you have some request, you send it to me. I'll look into it, and then accordingly will take. I'll inform you what is the decision, and but you always inform me, okay? And Yob is the class captain, so you can collectively. This is a collective decision, so you can send it to me. Now, some of you